Thank you. From African mango to green coffee, it's the most talked about topic. Everybody wants to know, what's the newest, fastest fat buster? You've been stopping me on the street, emailing me. Even my family is asking the same question. How can I burn fat without spending every waking moment exercising and dieting? I just don't have any time to put in more effort. Well, thanks to brand new scientific research, I can tell you about a revolutionary fat buster. You're hearing it here first. It's called Garcinia cambogia, a pumpkin-shaped fruit that grows in Southeast Asia and India. And it just might be the most exciting breakthrough in natural weight loss to date. Revolutionary new research says it could be the magic ingredient that lets you lose weight without diet or exercise. Dr. Harry Preuss is at the forefront of the research.
The ideal weight loss program is one in which you lose fat and you retain your muscle or even build it. With Garcinia, we can make that happen. I tell women, look at your dress size. If your figure is getting much smaller, that's exactly what you want.
Garcinia is an exceptionally effective fat buster. It inhibits the production of fat in the body, and when the body's not making fat, it's burning fat.
Could Garcinia cambogia be the fat-busting breakthrough you've been waiting for? The newest, fastest fat buster, and one of the least expensive too, is Garcinia cambogia extract. I know it's a mouthful. I want you to write it down. Garcinia cambogia, because it may be the simple solution you've been looking for to bust your body fat for good. Dr. Julie Chen, a California internist with a fellowship training in integrative medicine, is here with more on this discovery. So educate us a bit about Garcinia cambogia. What makes it so special?
Well, you know, there's a lot of expensive supplements out there for weight loss. And what I love about this product is it's one of the least expensive out there for people to use. And it's actually been seen in studies to help increase weight loss by 2 to 3 times what people would naturally lose with just diet and exercise alone. And they've been able to isolate this compound from the rind of the fruit and made it into a capsule for people to take more easily.
I'm stunned that I hadn't heard of it earlier, but let me educate you all a little bit about what I do know about. So it comes from a fruit.
Yes.
As Dr. Chen mentioned, it's the tamarind fruit. You've probably heard of the tamarind fruit. It's a pumpkin-shaped fruit. It's used in cooking. You find it in chutney sauces, it's in soup preparations, a lot of traditional medicinal uses for it. The sour flavors are said to aid in digestion. So it's been around for a long time, which makes me comfortable, a little bit more comfortable anyway, and it's safe. Walk me through how it works.
So it actually is great not just for weight loss, which is important, but it's also great for emotional eaters because there's an increase in serotonin in the studies for patients, so their sleep and mood is better. It helps to suppress appetite, and it helps to block fat from being made. And it helps to kind of manage the stress hormone called cortisol. So a lot of the times the patients will notice that there's a decrease in the belly fat.
So, listen, anytime I see a scientist excited about this, and I look through some of this research, called these scientists myself, I get excited. That's why Garcinia cambogia makes sense to me, fascinates me. But I got to say, I am intrigued by how this stuff works. Explain to me how it's different from all the other weight loss supplements that I've heard of in the past, the ones that most of our audience knows about.
Well, I think it's great because it's like a dual action fat buster because it suppresses appetite and it helps to prevent fat from being made in the body and moves it towards glycogen, which is actually an energy source for the muscles to burn when you exercise.
So Dr. Chen and I prepared a little demonstration for you to show you how this fat buster is going to help you shed pounds. So let's walk over here.
Okay.
First big point that Dr. Chen mentioned was that it helps block the formation of fat. Right? So this is your liver. Folks, this is where all the action is with fat creation. You can eat whatever you want, but when your liver gets a hold of it, it knows exactly what it wants to do with it. And oftentimes, that's to create fat. There's specialized enzymes in the liver that will take sugar and carbohydrates that you've eaten, that extra donut, that little bit of extra white bread, and convert it to the fat in your body. So go ahead, pour that sugar and carbohydrate. This is the sugar and carbs up here. Right, Dr. Chen's pouring this in. Pour that into your liver. And when you do that, not surprisingly, it can flow into the liver. And as it flows into the liver, it will selectively begin to fill up your fat cells. And your fat cells, watch, they'll get larger and larger and ponderously begin to swell up. And as you get more and more material pushed in there by the liver will soak up some of it, but it'll continue to make those fat cells as big and as robust as they can. Are you all seeing this happen? Now, hold for 1 second. That's the current state of a lot of us. Garcinia cambogia blocks that enzyme that converts the sugar that Dr. Chen was pouring in into the fat that your fat cells will absorb. So what does it do? Effectively, it uncorks the pathway that allows you to turn that sugar into energy. And by doing that, by doing that, your fat cells can begin to shrink out their material, convert it into energy. Go ahead and pour that in. Now, even if you eat sugar, you're capped this off, so you are unable, because of the Garcinia, to make more of that fat cell. And so you end up with this scenario. That's why this research is so superb and interesting to me, because it makes me think differently about how your liver converts sugar into fat and how it cannot convert it into energy. Why is this so special for you?
Well, it's really important because a lot of patients early on want to just see the numbers go down on the scale, but that's not necessarily what's important at the beginning, because there's a body composition change. There's a recent study that actually looks at patients where they took the Garcinia cambogia and they saw an increase in the actual lean muscle mass and decrease in fat. And that's important because muscle burns about 30 to 50 calories per day and fat only about 3. And so if you're actually getting more of the lean muscle mass built and less of the fat, you're more of a fat busting machine yourself.
Right. Think about that, folks. Instead of focusing on the weight, you can now focus on your dress size. You can focus on your waist size, the things that we actually should be caring about. You'll look better because you got more of that muscle mass, because your energy is being used to build muscle rather than to build fat. Now, that's part one of the story. If you listen carefully, Dr. Chen said there's two ways it works. One is the mechanism we talked about here. By changing how you use energy in your liver, you make less fat. The other is by dealing with emotional eating. And this seems to work as an appetite suppressant. Let me walk you through how this seems to happen. So as you take the pill that has this extract from the tamarind rind, the Garcinia cambogia, it goes into your stomach. It changes the way the stomach empties out the food. There are chemicals released from your intestines that go into the bloodstream. They percolate from there up into your brain. As they float up to your brain, they change the appetite. And as this energy changes in the brain, you make more of that serotonin. The nerve cells sense things differently. You don't get the emotional drive cell. Your fat cells, because they're not full of fat anymore, will begin to release fat. And without that stressful, inflamed environment, the fat cells will naturally take you back to your playing weight. Plus, you'll stay fuller for longer. So, Dr. Chen, the big question, I'll ask you as an intern who takes care of patients.
Yes.
Do you recommend this to your patients?
I do, primarily because it's got other health benefits. That's extremely important to me, because we're not looking at just weight loss, but overall health improvement. And they saw in the studies that patients had actually a decrease in total cholesterol, triglycerides, LDL, somewhere between 10 to 30%, and an improvement in HDL, which is the good cholesterol. And they thought that potentially patients who are obese had some improvement in insulin resistance and leptin resistance, which are hormones that actually help us to eat less and be more at normal weight.
In many ways, it's the holy grail.
Yeah.
If we can get folks, and you know, it's not just a pill. Please don't go home thinking it's just a pill. But together with the normal, natural things we tell you to do, with the food you eat especially,
lifestyle, right.
This becomes a very important tool